Welcome, dear friend. I know you watch this video to fall asleep, so before that, like, comment, and share this video. Also, where are you from and what time is it where you are from? Have you ever wondered why some people command instant respect wherever they go? They walk into a room and suddenly everyone listens. They speak and people lean in. They face conflict and others back down without a fight. What's their secret? Is it money, power, connections, or is there something much deeper at work here? Tonight, I'm going to reveal something that will completely transform how others see and treat you. These aren't just theories or feel-good advice. These are ancient Buddhist principles that have been tested by millions of people across centuries, and they work with almost mathematical precision. You see, respect isn't something you demand or fight for. It's something you naturally attract when you embody certain qualities. And the Buddha, one of history's most respected figures, left us a blueprint for developing these exact qualities. But here's what most people get wrong about respect. They think it's about being aggressive, loud, or dominant. They think it's about putting others down or showing off their achievements. That approach might work temporarily, but it always backfires eventually. True respect, the kind that lasts and grows stronger over time, comes from an entirely different place. In this video, I'm going to share 30 profound Buddhist lessons that will make you the kind of person others naturally respect and admire. These aren't just philosophical concepts. Each lesson comes with practical steps you can implement immediately to see real changes in how people respond to you. And here's the beautiful part. As you develop these qualities, you won't just gain respect from others. You'll develop genuine self-respect, inner peace, and a confidence that can't be shaken by external circumstances. You'll become the kind of person who doesn't need to prove anything to anyone because your presence speaks for itself. But before we dive into these life-changing lessons, let me tell you why this matters more now than ever before. We're living in a time when respect seems to be disappearing from society. People interrupt each other, dismiss different viewpoints, and treat others as obstacles rather than fellow human beings. In this environment, someone who truly embodies these Buddhist principles stands out like a beacon of light. The first lesson that will immediately change how others perceive you is the practice of deep listening. Most people don't really listen. They're just waiting for their turn to speak. They're planning their response while the other person is still talking. This creates a subtle but powerful barrier between people. When you practice deep listening, something magical happens. The person speaking feels truly heard and understood. This creates an instant connection and makes them view you as someone special. Deep listening means giving your complete attention to the speaker. It means setting aside your own agenda and truly focusing on understanding their perspective, their emotions, and their needs. Here's how to master deep listening immediately. First, put away all distractions. Your phone, your mental to-do list, your judgments about what the person is saying. Second, make genuine eye contact. Not the aggressive stare-down kind, but the warm, attentive kind that says you're present. Third, resist the urge to immediately offer solutions or advice. Sometimes people just need to be heard. When you become known as someone who truly listens, people will seek you out. They'll value your opinions more highly because they know you've taken the time to understand theirs. This single practice alone can transform your relationships and earn you tremendous respect. The second lesson involves something most people completely overlook: the power of mindful speech. Buddha taught that our words have the ability to heal or harm, to build up or tear down, to create harmony or chaos. The way you speak reveals everything about your character, and people form lasting impressions based on how you communicate. Mindful speech means speaking with intention and awareness. It means choosing words that are truthful, helpful, and kind. It means avoiding gossip, harsh criticism, and empty chatter. When you speak, people should feel that your words carry weight and meaning, but here's the deeper secret. Mindful speech isn't just about what you say. It's about when you choose not to say anything at all. There's tremendous power in silence. When everyone else is rushing to fill every moment with words, your thoughtful silence stands out. People begin to understand that when you do speak, it's worth listening to. This creates what I call the wisdom effect. People start perceiving you as wise and thoughtful, even if you're simply being more intentional with your words. They begin to seek your opinions and value your input because they know it comes from a place of consideration rather than impulse. The third lesson is about developing unshakable inner confidence through self-awareness. Most people's confidence is fragile because it depends on external factors, how others treat them, their recent successes or failures, their mood on any given day. Buddhist teachings show us how to develop a different kind of confidence that comes from deep self-knowledge and acceptance. This inner confidence isn't arrogance or ego. It's the quiet certainty that comes from knowing yourself completely, accepting your strengths and weaknesses, and being comfortable with who you are. When you have this kind of confidence, you don't need to prove anything to anyone. You don't get defensive when criticized because you already know your own flaws. You don't feel threatened by others' success because your self-worth doesn't depend on comparison. People are naturally drawn to this kind of authentic confidence. It's magnetic because it's rare. Most people are so busy trying to impress others or hide their insecurities that they never develop genuine self-assurance. When you show up as someone who is completely comfortable in their own skin, others can't help but respect that. The fourth lesson involves mastering your emotional responses. Buddha taught that between stimulus and response there is a space. In that space lies our power to choose our response. And in that choice lies our growth and our freedom. Most people are reactive. Someone says something they don't like and they immediately get angry or defensive. Someone criticizes them and they lash out. Someone treats them poorly and they respond in kind. This reactive pattern destroys respect because it shows that you're not in control of yourself. When you develop the ability to pause before reacting, everything changes. You become known as someone who doesn't lose their cool under pressure. You become the person others turn to during conflicts because they know you'll respond thoughtfully rather than emotionally. This emotional mastery is one of the most respected qualities a person can develop. The practice is simple but not easy. When you feel triggered, take a deep breath. Count to 5 before responding. Ask yourself what response would serve the situation best rather than what response would make you feel better in the moment. This small pause can transform your relationships and your reputation. The fifth lesson is about developing genuine compassion, not just for others, but for yourself as well. Compassion isn't weakness or being a pushover. True compassion requires tremendous strength and wisdom. It's the ability to see the suffering behind someone's difficult behavior and respond with understanding rather than judgment. When you approach conflicts and difficult people with genuine compassion, several things happen. First, you disarm their defensiveness because they don't expect understanding. Second, you often discover the real issue behind their behavior, which allows you to address the root cause rather than just the symptoms. Third, you maintain your own peace and dignity regardless of how others behave. People respect compassion because they recognize it as a sign of emotional and spiritual maturity. Anyone can respond to kindness with kindness, but responding to hostility with compassion takes real strength and wisdom. The sixth lesson involves practicing what Buddhists call right action. This means aligning your behavior with your values consistently, even when no one is watching. It means doing the right thing not because you might get caught doing the wrong thing, but because integrity is part of who you are. Right action builds respect in two ways. First, people notice when someone's actions consistently match their words. In a world full of people who say one thing and do another, genuine integrity stands out powerfully. Second, when you act from integrity, you develop tremendous self-respect, and this inner confidence naturally commands respect from others. The practice of right action means keeping your promises, even small ones. It means being honest in your dealings, even when honesty might cost you something. It means treating everyone with basic human dignity, regardless of their status or what they can do for you. The seventh lesson focuses on developing patience, which Buddha called one of the highest virtues. Patience isn't passive waiting. It's the active choice to remain calm and composed when faced with delays, difficulties, or people who test your limits. Patience is respected because it demonstrates self-control and wisdom. When everyone else is rushing and stressing, your patient presence becomes an anchor point for others. They begin to see you as reliable and trustworthy because you don't make hasty decisions or react impulsively to pressure. True patience comes from understanding that everything unfolds in its own time. You can influence outcomes through your actions, but you cannot force results. This understanding allows you to work diligently toward your goals while remaining peaceful about the timeline. The eighth lesson involves the practice of gratitude, but not the superficial kind that's become popular in recent years. Buddhist gratitude is a deep appreciation for life itself, including its challenges and difficulties. This kind of gratitude creates an attractive energy that people naturally want to be around. When you approach life with genuine appreciation, several things happen. You become more positive to be around, but not in a fake or forced way. You develop resilience because you can find meaning and value even in difficult situations. You become less needy and demanding because you're already appreciating what you have. This grateful attitude earns respect because people recognize it as a sign of wisdom and maturity. Anyone can be happy when everything goes their way, but maintaining gratitude and positivity during challenges shows real strength of character. These first 8 lessons form the foundation of the respect-commanding presence we're building together. Each one builds upon the others to create a way of being that naturally attracts respect and admiration from others. But we're just getting started. The remaining 22 lessons will take these foundations and build them into an unshakable presence that commands respect in any situation. We'll explore how to handle criticism without losing your composure, how to disagree with others while maintaining their respect, and how to lead by example rather than force. The 9th lesson is about mastering the art of non-attachment, which might be the most misunderstood concept in all of Buddhist teaching. Most people think non-attachment means not caring about anything or becoming emotionally distant. That's completely wrong. Non-attachment means caring deeply while releasing your grip on specific outcomes. Think about it this way. When you're desperately attached to getting a promotion, landing a relationship, or winning an argument, you become needy and pushy. People can sense this desperation and it actually repels them. But when you can work toward your goals with passion while remaining peaceful about the results, you project a confidence that's magnetic. This doesn't mean you stop trying or become passive. You give your absolute best effort to everything you do. But you're not emotionally devastated if things don't work out exactly as planned. This emotional freedom is incredibly attractive because most people are trapped in cycles of anxiety about outcomes they can't fully control. When you master non-attachment, people start seeing you as unflappable. They know that you won't fall apart if a project fails or become arrogant if it succeeds. This stability makes you someone others want to work with, confide in, and follow. The 10th lesson involves developing what Buddha called loving kindness, starting with yourself. Here's something most people never realize. You cannot genuinely respect others if you don't respect yourself first. And you cannot give authentic love and kindness if you're constantly criticizing and attacking yourself internally. Self-compassion isn't self-indulgence or making excuses for poor behavior. It's treating yourself with the same kindness you'd show a good friend who made a mistake. When you develop this internal kindness, something remarkable happens. You become less defensive, less reactive, and less needy for external validation. People respect this self-assured kindness because they can sense that you're not trying to get something from them. Your kindness comes from abundance rather than need. You're nice to the cashier not because you want something from them, but because kindness is part of who you are. This authentic, loving kindness creates a positive energy field around you. People feel better after interacting with you, even if they can't explain why. They start associating you with positive feelings, which naturally leads to respect and admiration. The 11th lesson focuses on the power of humility, but not the false modesty that's often confused with true humility. Real humility is having an accurate assessment of your strengths and weaknesses without the need to constantly prove yourself or put others down. Humble people are confident enough to admit when they're wrong. They can celebrate others' successes without feeling diminished. They can ask for help when they need it without feeling weak. This kind of authentic humility is incredibly rare and therefore tremendously respected. Here's why humility is so powerful. It disarms people's defensiveness. When someone realizes you're not trying to make them look bad or prove you're better than them, they can relax and be themselves around you. This creates deeper connections and genuine respect. True humility also means you don't need to be the smartest person in every room. You can ask questions, learn from others, and admit your limitations. Paradoxically, this makes people view you as even more competent and trustworthy. The 12th lesson involves understanding the principle of impermanence and how it can free you from most of the things that cause people to lose respect for themselves and others. Everything changes. Your current problems are temporary. Your current successes are temporary. Your current emotional states are temporary. When you deeply understand impermanence, you stop taking things so personally. Someone's rude behavior toward you isn't a permanent judgment of your worth. Your current financial situation isn't a permanent definition of your value. Your past mistakes aren't permanent stains on your character. This understanding creates tremendous inner stability. People respect those who don't get thrown off course by temporary setbacks or become arrogant during temporary successes. You become known as someone who maintains perspective and dignity regardless of circumstances. The 13th lesson is about developing right intention, which means aligning your motivations with wisdom and compassion rather than ego and selfishness. Before you speak, act, or make decisions, you pause and ask yourself, what is my real intention here? Am I trying to help or just trying to look smart? Am I sharing this story to contribute value or just to get attention? Am I offering this criticism to genuinely help someone improve or just to make myself feel superior? When your intentions are consistently pure, people can sense it. They trust you more because they know you're not operating from hidden agendas or selfish motives. This trustworthiness is the foundation of all lasting respect. The 14th lesson involves mastering the art of mindful presence. In our distracted world, the ability to be fully present with another person has become a superpower. When you're with someone, you're actually with them. Your mind isn't on your phone, your problems, or your next appointment. This quality of presence makes people feel valued and important. They walk away from conversations with you feeling heard and appreciated. In a world where everyone is half listening while thinking about something else, your full attention becomes a precious gift. Mindful presence also means being fully engaged with whatever you're doing. Whether you're washing dishes, attending a meeting, or having a conversation, you bring your complete attention to the task. This creates a quality of excellence and care that people notice and respect. The 15th lesson focuses on developing equanimity, which is the ability to maintain inner balance regardless of external circumstances. This doesn't mean becoming emotionally numb or indifferent. It means developing the inner strength to remain centered whether you're facing praise or criticism, success or failure, easy times or difficult ones. Equanimity is deeply respected because it shows emotional mastery. People know they can count on you to remain rational and helpful during crises. They see you as a source of stability in an unstable world. This makes you naturally attractive as a friend, colleague, and leader. The practice of equanimity involves accepting that life includes both pleasant and unpleasant experiences. Instead of fighting against difficulties or clinging to pleasures, you learn to flow with whatever arises while maintaining your inner peace and wisdom. The 16th lesson is about the transformative power of forgiveness, but not the kind of forgiveness that makes you a doormat. True forgiveness is a gift you give yourself by releasing the burden of resentment and anger. It doesn't mean forgetting what happened or allowing continued mistreatment. When you can forgive genuinely, you free yourself from the poison of carrying grudges. People respect this because they can see that you're not controlled by past hurts or trapped in victim stories. You've developed the strength to move forward without dragging your pain with you everywhere you go. Forgiveness also demonstrates wisdom because it shows you understand that holding on to anger hurts you more than the person who wronged you. This kind of emotional intelligence earns tremendous respect from others who are still struggling with their own resentments. The 17th lesson involves cultivating wisdom through continuous learning and self-reflection. Wise people are respected not because they know everything, but because they're always seeking to understand more deeply. They ask good questions, listen carefully to answers, and remain open to changing their minds when presented with better information. Wisdom also means understanding the difference between knowledge and understanding. You might know many facts, but wisdom is knowing how to apply knowledge skillfully in real-life situations. It's understanding the deeper patterns and principles that govern human behavior and natural processes. The 18th lesson focuses on developing integrity in small things as well as large ones. Most people think integrity is about the big moral decisions, but it's actually built through countless small choices. Do you return the extra change when a cashier makes a mistake in your favor? Do you arrive when you say you'll arrive? Do you do quality work even when no one is checking? These small acts of integrity build your character and reputation over time. People begin to see you as completely trustworthy because your actions consistently match your values, regardless of the circumstances or who's watching. The 19th lesson involves understanding the principle of interdependence and how it can transform your relationships. Nothing exists in isolation. Your success depends on countless other people and factors. Your happiness is connected to the happiness of those around you. Your problems affect others and their problems affect you. When you truly understand interdependence, you naturally become more collaborative, generous, and considerate. You realize that helping others succeed actually helps you succeed. This understanding creates a way of being that people find attractive and worthy of respect. The 20th lesson is about developing mental clarity through meditation and mindfulness practices. A clear mind makes better decisions, communicates more effectively, and remains calm under pressure. Mental clarity allows you to see situations objectively rather than through the fog of emotions, assumptions, and past conditioning. People respect mental clarity because they can sense when someone is thinking straight versus when they're confused or reactive. They trust the judgment of people who demonstrate consistent mental sharpness and emotional balance. Regular meditation practice doesn't just calm your mind during meditation. It creates a baseline of mental clarity and emotional stability that persists throughout your day. This makes you more effective in everything you do and more pleasant to be around. The 21st lesson focuses on the practice of contentment, which is different from complacency. Contentment means appreciating what you have while still working toward meaningful goals. It means finding happiness in the present moment while building toward a better future. Contentment is respected because it shows emotional maturity and wisdom. Content people aren't constantly complaining, comparing themselves to others, or seeking validation through material achievements. They have an inner peace that makes them enjoyable company and reliable colleagues. This doesn't mean you stop growing or achieving. It means your happiness isn't dependent on getting more things or reaching specific milestones. Your contentment comes from within, which makes you less needy and more attractive to others. The 22nd lesson involves developing to stand up for what's right, even when it's difficult or unpopular. This kind of moral courage is rare and therefore deeply respected. People know they can count on you to do the right thing, even when it costs you something personally. Moral courage doesn't mean being confrontational or judgmental. It means having the strength to live according to your principles while treating others with respect and dignity. Sometimes this means speaking up against injustice. Sometimes it means refusing to participate in gossip or unethical behavior. When people see that you have genuine principles and the courage to live by them, they develop tremendous respect for you, even if they don't always agree with your specific positions. They know you're someone of substance and integrity. The 23rd lesson is about mastering the balance between confidence and openness to feedback. Confident people aren't threatened by criticism or different perspectives. They can listen to feedback without becoming defensive because their self-worth doesn't depend on being perfect or always right. This balance is incredibly attractive because most people are either too insecure to handle feedback or too arrogant to consider that they might be wrong. When you can receive criticism gracefully and use it for growth, people see you as someone who's secure enough to keep improving. Being open to feedback also demonstrates respect for others' perspectives and experiences. This creates mutual respect and makes people more willing to work with you and support your goals. These lessons are creating a foundation that goes deeper than surface-level respect. We're building the kind of character that commands genuine admiration and creates lasting, positive relationships. But there are still 7 more crucial lessons that will complete this transformation and make you truly unshakable in any situation. The 24th lesson reveals the transformative power of generosity, but not the kind that comes from obligation or guilt. True generosity flows from abundance and joy. When you give your time, attention, resources, or energy freely and without expectation of return, something profound happens. You shift from a mindset of scarcity to one of abundance. People respect generous individuals because generosity demonstrates that you have enough inner wealth to share with others. It shows you're not operating from fear or neediness, whether you're sharing knowledge, offering help, or simply giving someone your undivided attention. Genuine generosity creates a magnetic quality that draws respect naturally. But here's the deeper secret about generosity. It's not about the size of what you give, it's about the spirit behind the giving. A sincere smile to a stranger can be more generous than writing a large check for recognition. Listening fully to someone who needs to be heard can be more valuable than any material gift. The practice starts small. Hold the elevator for someone. Offer genuine encouragement to a colleague. Share credit for successes. Let someone merge in traffic without getting annoyed. These tiny acts of generosity accumulate into a reputation for kindness and abundance that commands tremendous respect. The 25th lesson involves developing what Buddhists call right effort, which is the sustainable way to work toward your goals without burning out or becoming obsessed. Right effort means bringing full engagement to what you're doing while maintaining balance and perspective. Most people either work frantically, driven by anxiety and desperation, or they coast along with minimal engagement. Both approaches ultimately fail, and neither commands respect. Right effort is the middle path between these extremes. You work with focused intensity while remaining calm and centered. When people see you approaching challenges with this balanced effort, they develop confidence in your abilities. They know you won't panic under pressure or give up when things get difficult. They also know you won't sacrifice everything else in your life for temporary achievements. This sustainable approach to effort actually makes you more productive and effective over the long term. You can maintain high performance consistently because you're not depleting yourself through anxious striving or neglecting the other areas of life that give you strength. The 26th lesson focuses on mastering the art of boundaries, which many people misunderstand as being selfish or unkind. Healthy boundaries are actually one of the most generous things you can establish because they create clarity and safety for everyone involved. When you have clear boundaries, people know what to expect from you. They understand what you will and won't do, what you consider acceptable behavior, and how you prefer to be treated. This clarity eliminates confusion and reduces conflict. Boundaries also demonstrate self-respect, which naturally commands respect from others. When you show that you value your time, energy, and well-being enough to protect them appropriately, others begin to value these things too. They stop taking advantage of your kindness because they understand there are limits. Setting boundaries requires courage and clarity. You must know your own values and limits, and you must be willing to communicate them calmly and consistently. This isn't about building walls or becoming rigid. It's about creating healthy structure that allows relationships to flourish. The 27th lesson involves developing genuine curiosity about other people and the world around you. Curious people are naturally attractive because they're interested in learning and growing rather than just proving what they already know. When you approach conversations with genuine curiosity, people feel valued and appreciated. Instead of waiting for your turn to speak, you're actually interested in understanding their perspectives, experiences, and insights. This creates deeper connections and makes people feel important. Curiosity also keeps you humble and open to new information. Instead of approaching situations with rigid preconceptions, you remain flexible and receptive to unexpected insights. This adaptability is highly respected in our rapidly changing world. The practice of curiosity extends beyond conversations with people. Stay curious about your work, your hobbies, current events, and life itself. This ongoing interest in learning and discovery keeps you mentally sharp and makes you more interesting to be around. The 28th lesson is about understanding and practicing the principle of reciprocity in relationships. This doesn't mean keeping score or expecting immediate returns on every kindness. It means understanding that healthy relationships involve mutual giving and receiving over time. People respect those who contribute to relationships rather than just taking from them. This contribution can take many forms: emotional support, practical help, encouragement, humor, or simply reliable presence during both good times and difficult ones. Reciprocity also means being gracious when others want to give to you. Some people struggle with receiving help or kindness because they want to be completely self-sufficient. But refusing to let others contribute to your life actually deprives them of the joy of giving and can create imbalance in relationships. The key is maintaining awareness of the overall balance in your relationships. Are you consistently giving more than you receive, or vice versa? Neither extreme is healthy or sustainable. Aim for a flowing exchange where everyone feels valued and supported. The 29th lesson focuses on developing emotional intelligence, which includes both understanding your own emotions and reading the emotional states of others accurately. Emotionally intelligent people navigate social situations with grace and skill because they can sense what's really happening beneath the surface. When you can recognize that someone's harsh words come from pain rather than malice, you can respond with compassion instead of defensiveness. When you notice that someone is struggling even though they haven't said anything directly, you can offer support before they have to ask for it. Emotional intelligence also means managing your own emotional state skillfully. You don't suppress or ignore difficult emotions, but you don't let them control your behavior either. You can feel frustrated without acting frustrated. You can be disappointed without becoming bitter. This emotional mastery is deeply respected because most people are either controlled by their emotions or cut off from them entirely. Finding the balance between feeling deeply and responding wisely is a skill that serves you in every area of life. The 30th and everything together, the final lesson brings the practice of living authentically while remaining adaptable. Authenticity doesn't mean saying whatever comes to mind or refusing to consider other perspectives. It means staying true to your core values and principles while being flexible in how you express them. Authentic people are respected because they're predictable in the best sense. You know they won't pretend to be something they're not, or change their fundamental character based on who they're with or what they might gain. This consistency creates trust and security in relationships, but authenticity must be balanced with adaptability. You can stay true to your core self while adjusting your communication style to different audiences, learning new skills, and growing from experiences. Rigid authenticity that refuses to evolve or adapt is actually a form of ego protection, not genuine self-expression. The practice involves regular self-reflection to stay connected with your true values and motivations. Ask yourself whether your actions align with who you really are, or whether you're performing a role to get approval. Make adjustments when you notice yourself drifting away from authenticity. When you combine all 30 of these lessons, something remarkable happens. You develop what we might call an integrated presence. Each quality supports and strengthens the others. Your mindfulness enhances your compassion. Your humility deepens your wisdom. Your authenticity makes your kindness more powerful. This integrated approach means you're not just practicing individual techniques or trying to remember specific behaviors. You're becoming the kind of person who naturally embodies these qualities. Respect flows to you not because you're performing or manipulating, but because you've developed genuine character. people can sense this integration even if they can't articulate what makes you different. They feel safer around you, more valued, more understood. They know they can trust you because your character is consistent across different situations and relationships. But here's what makes this approach truly powerful. As you develop these qualities, you stop needing respect from others in the desperate way that drives so much human behavior. You respect yourself so deeply that external validation becomes pleasant when it comes, but not necessary for your well-being. This inner security is perhaps the most attractive quality of all. When people sense that you don't need their approval to feel good about yourself, they ironically want to give you that approval even more. They're drawn to your self-contained confidence and inner peace. Remember, developing these qualities is a lifelong practice, not a destination you reach and then stop working toward. Each day offers new opportunities to embody mindfulness, compassion, wisdom, and all the other qualities we've explored together. Some days you'll do better than others. You'll have moments of impatience, times when you react instead of respond. Situations where you fall back into old patterns. This is completely normal and part of the human experience. The key is to notice these moments without harsh self-judgment and gently redirect yourself back toward these principles. The beautiful thing about this path is that every step forward makes the next step easier. As you develop genuine respect for yourself and others, as you cultivate inner peace and authentic confidence, as you learn to respond rather than react, the whole process becomes more natural and sustainable. You're not just learning techniques to manipulate how others see you. You're becoming the kind of person who naturally commands respect through the quality of their character and presence. This transformation goes far deeper than any surface-level strategy and creates lasting change that benefits every area of your life. These 30 lessons from Buddhist wisdom offer a complete framework for developing the kind of character that naturally attracts respect, admiration, and genuine connection with others. But more importantly, they offer a path to becoming someone you can deeply respect and appreciate yourself. As you begin implementing these Buddhist principles in your daily life, you'll start noticing something remarkable happening in your interactions with others. It won't be immediate, and it won't be dramatic at first. But gradually, almost imperceptibly, people will begin responding to you differently. The person who used to interrupt you constantly will start listening when you speak. The colleague who dismissed your ideas will begin asking for your opinion. The family member who always seemed to criticize will start treating you with more consideration. This isn't magic, and it's not manipulation. It's the natural result of embodying these timeless principles. But here's something crucial that most people miss when they first learn about these concepts. They make the mistake of trying to implement all 30 lessons at once. They overwhelm themselves attempting to be perfectly mindful, completely compassionate, and absolutely authentic in every moment of every day. This approach leads to frustration and usually ends in giving up entirely. Instead, choose 1 or 2 lessons to focus on for the next month. Perhaps start with deep listening and mindful speech, since these create immediate positive changes in your relationships. Practice these consistently until they become natural parts of who you are, then gradually add other principles. Let me share something that might surprise you about this journey. The biggest obstacle you'll face won't be learning these principles or understanding how to apply them. The biggest challenge will be the resistance from people who are used to the old version of you. When you stop being reactive, some people might try harder to provoke you. When you start setting healthy boundaries, certain individuals might push against them. When you begin speaking with more intention and wisdom, those who are used to dominating conversations might feel threatened. This resistance is actually a sign that you're changing in positive ways. Don't let it discourage you or cause you to revert to old patterns. Stay consistent with your practice, and eventually even the most resistant people will adjust to your new way of being. Many will actually come to appreciate and respect the changes they see in you. There's another phenomenon you'll experience that's worth preparing for. As you develop these qualities, you might start noticing behaviors in others that you never saw before. You'll become more aware of people who lack these principles, who operate from ego, fear, or manipulation. This increased awareness is part of your growth, but it can be initially unsettling. The key is to observe these behaviors without judgment or superiority. Remember that you're seeing these patterns more clearly now because you've done the inner work to develop different qualities. Use this awareness to deepen your own practice rather than to criticize others who are still learning. One of the most profound shifts that occurs as you embody these Buddhist principles is in your relationship with conflict. Most people either avoid conflict entirely or engage in it aggressively. Both approaches limit your effectiveness and damage relationships. As you develop these qualities, you'll discover a third way. You'll learn to engage with disagreement and difficult situations from a place of centered calm. You won't avoid necessary conversations, but you also won't approach them with anger or defensiveness. This balanced approach to conflict resolution is one of the most respected skills you can develop when you can discuss sensitive topics without losing your composure. When you can disagree with someone while maintaining respect for their humanity. When you can stand firm on important principles while remaining open to new information. People begin to see you as someone with rare wisdom and strength. This doesn't mean you become passive or avoid taking stands on important issues. It means you engage from a place of wisdom rather than emotion, seeking understanding and resolution rather than victory or dominance. Let's talk about something else that happens as you integrate these lessons into your life. You'll start attracting different types of people and opportunities like attracts like. And as you develop qualities of wisdom, compassion, and authenticity, you'll find yourself surrounded by others who share these values. This shift in your social circle might happen gradually, but it will be profound. You'll spend less time with people who drain your energy through constant drama, negativity, or superficial concerns. You'll find yourself drawn to individuals who are also committed to growth, who value meaningful conversation, and who treat others with respect and kindness. This natural selection process in relationships is one of the most rewarding aspects of this journey. You'll discover that when you raise your own standards for how you treat yourself and others, the quality of your relationships improves dramatically. But what about dealing with people you can't choose to avoid? Family members, colleagues, or neighbors who don't share these values. This is where these Buddhist principles become most powerful and practical. When you encounter someone who is being difficult, manipulative, or disrespectful, your new toolkit of responses gives you options you never had before. Instead of getting pulled into their drama or energy, you can remain centered and respond from wisdom. You might choose to set a clear boundary with compassion. You might listen deeply to understand what's really driving their behavior. You might respond with patience when they're clearly struggling with their own issues. Or you might simply maintain your own peace while not taking their behavior personally. These responses often diffuse difficult situations in ways that surprise everyone involved, including yourself. When you don't react with the defensiveness or aggression that people expect, it creates space for more positive outcomes. Here's something that might seem counterintuitive but is absolutely crucial to understand. As you develop these qualities, you'll become more sensitive to negative energy and toxic behavior, not less. This isn't a weakness or a step backward in your development. It's actually a sign of your growing wisdom and discernment. When you're living from a place of peace and authenticity, discord and manipulation become more obviously uncomfortable. You'll notice subtle forms of disrespect that you used to tolerate without thinking. You'll feel the energy drain that comes from spending time with consistently negative people. This increased sensitivity is valuable information. It helps you make better choices about where you invest your time and energy. It guides you toward relationships and environments that support your continued growth, and away from those that undermine it. The key is learning to use this sensitivity wisely, rather than letting it make you withdrawn or judgmental. You can acknowledge that certain people or situations don't serve your well-being without condemning them or cutting yourself off from the world. As we near the end of this exploration of Buddhist wisdom for commanding respect, I want to address something that concerns many people who are drawn to these teachings. They worry that developing these qualities will make them soft or vulnerable, that others will take advantage of their kindness and compassion. This concern comes from a fundamental misunderstanding of what these qualities actually represent. True compassion requires tremendous strength. Genuine humility comes from confidence, not insecurity. Authentic kindness flows from abundance, not neediness. When you embody these principles correctly, you become more powerful, not less. You develop the ability to influence situations and relationships through the force of your character rather than manipulation or aggression. People are drawn to follow and support you because they trust your intentions and respect your wisdom. Think about the people you most admire, either in your personal life or in history. Chances are they embody many of these Buddhist principles. They command respect not through force or domination, but through the strength of their character and the authenticity of their presence. This is the kind of respect that lasts. It doesn't depend on your position, your wealth, or your ability to intimidate others. It comes from who you are as a person, and it grows stronger over time as people experience your consistency and integrity. As you continue practicing these principles, you'll discover something beautiful about the nature of respect itself. The more you respect others, the more respect you naturally receive. The more you honor the dignity and worth of every person you encounter, the more people recognize and honor your own dignity and worth. This isn't a transaction or a manipulation. It's a natural law that operates as reliably as gravity. When you approach the world with genuine respect, appreciation, and goodwill, the world tends to reflect these qualities back to you. But remember, the ultimate goal isn't to gain respect from others, as valuable as that is. The ultimate goal is to become someone you can deeply respect yourself. When you live according to these principles, when you embody wisdom, compassion, and authenticity, you develop an unshakable sense of self-worth that no external circumstance can diminish. This inner respect becomes the foundation for everything else. It gives you the courage to speak truth when necessary, the strength to maintain your principles under pressure, and the peace to remain centered regardless of how others choose to behave. The journey of integrating these Buddhist lessons into your life is not always easy, but it is always worthwhile. There will be days when you feel like you're making no progress, when old patterns seem to reassert themselves, when the world seems to reward qualities opposite to those you're developing. During these challenging times, remember that every great teacher, every respected leader, every person who has made a positive difference in the world has walked this same path of inner development. They faced the same struggles, the same doubts, the same temptations to give up or compromise their principles. What separated them from those who remained stuck in old patterns was persistence. They kept practicing these principles even when it was difficult, even when others didn't understand, even when the benefits weren't immediately obvious. Your commitment to this path of growth and development is already setting you apart from the majority of people who never seriously examine their patterns or work to develop their character. Every day you practice these principles, you're becoming part of a small group of individuals who are committed to living with wisdom, compassion, and authenticity. This commitment itself commands respect, even from those who don't fully understand what you're doing. People can sense when someone is genuinely working to become a better person, and they're naturally drawn to that energy of growth and positive change. As we conclude this comprehensive exploration of Buddhist wisdom for commanding respect, take a moment to appreciate how far you've already come simply by engaging with these ideas. You've opened your mind to ancient wisdom that has the power to transform every aspect of your life. The 30 lessons we've covered together form a complete system for developing unshakable character and natural authority. But remember, knowledge without application is merely entertainment. The real transformation begins when you start implementing these principles in your daily interactions and decisions. Choose one lesson that resonated most strongly with you today. Commit to practicing it consistently for the next week. Notice how it affects your relationships, your inner state, and the way others respond to you. This small beginning will create momentum for incorporating other principles over time. The path of developing genuine character and commanding natural respect is a lifelong journey, but every step along the way brings immediate benefits. You'll sleep better at night knowing you're living according to your highest values. You'll face challenges with greater confidence and resilience. You'll build relationships based on mutual respect and genuine connection. Most importantly, you'll develop the kind of inner strength and wisdom that allows you to remain peaceful and centered regardless of external circumstances. This is the ultimate form of power, the kind that no one can take away from you and that serves as a foundation for everything else you want to achieve in life. The Buddha taught that we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. As you make these principles your daily habits, you're not just changing how others see you. You're becoming someone worthy of the deepest respect, starting own. With your now that you understand these transformative principles, let's explore what happens when you begin living them consistently. The real magic doesn't occur in moments of perfect execution, but in how you respond when life tests your resolve. Picture this scenario. Someone cuts you off in traffic, nearly causing an accident. Your immediate impulse might be anger, frustration, the urge to honk your horn or make an aggressive gesture. But now you have tools that most people lack entirely. You have that crucial pause between stimulus and response that we discussed earlier. In that pause, you remember the lesson of compassion. This person might be rushing to the hospital, dealing with a family emergency, or simply making the same kind of mistake you've made countless times. This shift in perspective doesn't excuse dangerous driving, but it prevents their actions from poisoning your inner peace. You breathe deeply, maintaining your equanimity. You arrive at your destination centered rather than agitated. This might seem like a small thing, but imagine the cumulative effect of responding to hundreds of daily irritations with wisdom rather than reactivity. You're literally rewiring your nervous system toward peace instead of stress. People notice this transformation, often before you do. They start commenting that you seem different, calmer, more centered. They begin seeking your perspective on their problems because they sense you won't add drama or judgment to difficult situations. Here's something fascinating that happens as you embody these principles. You start noticing the subtle ways people test boundaries and respect levels in social interactions. Most of this happens below conscious awareness, but your developing wisdom makes these patterns visible. Someone might interrupt you mid-sentence to see if you'll assert yourself or quietly accept the disrespect. Another person might make a cutting remark disguised as humor to gauge your reaction. These aren't necessarily malicious acts, but rather unconscious ways people establish social hierarchies and determine how to treat each other. Your consistent embodiment of these Buddhist principles changes these dynamics completely. When you listen deeply without needing to prove your intelligence, when you speak with intentional wisdom rather than reactive emotion, when you maintain dignity without arrogance, people naturally adjust their behavior around you. They stop interrupting because they know you'll listen to them completely before responding. They stop making cutting remarks because your presence doesn't invite that kind of energy. They start bringing their better selves to interactions with you because you consistently show up as your better self. This creates what I call an elevation effect. Just as people tend to match the energy of anxious or negative individuals, they also tend to rise to meet the energy of those who embody wisdom and compassion. Your commitment to these principles literally helps others become better versions of themselves. But let's address something crucial that many people struggle with as they develop these qualities. Sometimes family members, old friends, or colleagues might resist your positive changes. They might make comments like, "You think you're better than everyone now," or "You've become too serious," or "Remember when you used to be fun." This resistance often comes from their own discomfort with change or fear that your growth somehow reflects poorly on their choices. Understanding this dynamic with compassion helps you navigate it skillfully. You can acknowledge their concerns without abandoning your commitment to growth. You might say something like, "I'm not trying to be better than anyone. I'm just working on becoming the person I want to be. I still value our relationship and hope you can support me in this." This response shows humility while maintaining your boundary around continued development. Sometimes people need time to adjust to the new version of you. Others might never fully accept your changes, and that's their choice to make. Your responsibility is to remain true to these principles while treating everyone with respect and kindness, regardless of how they respond to your growth. Now let's explore how these principles transform your approach to leadership, whether you're leading a team at work, raising children, or simply influencing others through your example. Traditional leadership often relies on authority, control, or charisma. Buddhist-inspired leadership operates from an entirely different foundation. When you lead from these principles, people follow you not because they have to, but because they want to. They sense your genuine care for their well-being and development. They trust your decisions because they've observed your integrity and wisdom over time. They feel safe expressing their ideas and concerns because you've created an atmosphere of respect and non-judgment. This kind of leadership doesn't require you to have all the answers or never make mistakes. In fact, your willingness to admit uncertainty or acknowledge errors actually strengthens people's trust in you. They see someone who's secure enough to be vulnerable, wise enough to keep learning, and humble enough to value input from others. Consider how this applies to parenting. Children raised by adults who embody these Buddhist principles learn respect through example rather than fear. They see how to handle conflict constructively, how to treat others with dignity, how to remain calm under pressure. These lessons shape their character far more powerfully than any lecture or punishment could. The same dynamic applies in professional settings. Colleagues and subordinates observe how you handle stress, how you treat people at different levels of hierarchy, how you respond to criticism or praise. Your consistent embodiment of these principles teaches them more about leadership than any management training program. Here's something remarkable that happens as you integrate these lessons more deeply. Your relationship with success and failure transforms completely. Most people ride an emotional roller coaster based on external outcomes. When things go well, they feel confident and happy. When things go poorly, they feel defeated and anxious. But these Buddhist principles teach you to find stability in your character rather than your circumstances. You can celebrate successes without becoming arrogant because you understand the role of interdependence and impermanence. You can face failures without despair because you know they're temporary and often contain valuable lessons. This emotional stability becomes one of your most attractive qualities. People want to work with, befriend, and partner with individuals who remain steady through life's inevitable ups and downs. Your centeredness becomes an anchor point for others during turbulent times. Let's examine how these principles affect your decision-making process. Most people make choices based on immediate emotions, social pressure, or short-term gains. This often leads to decisions they later regret and patterns that undermine their long-term well-being and relationships. When you approach decisions through the lens of Buddhist wisdom, you consider different factors entirely. You ask questions like, does this align with my deepest values? Will this contribute to the well-being of all involved? Am I choosing this from wisdom or from fear? What would my highest self do in this situation? This decision-making framework leads to choices you can feel genuinely good about long-term. People notice this integrity and consistency in your choices. They come to trust your judgment because they see that you make decisions from principle rather than convenience or self-interest alone. Your ability to make difficult but ethical choices even when they cost you something in the short term becomes a defining characteristic that commands tremendous respect from others. Now let's discuss something that might surprise you about this journey of character development. As you embody these principles more fully, you'll likely find yourself naturally drawn to different types of entertainment, conversations, and activities than before. Content that once seemed funny might now feel unnecessarily cruel or divisive. Conversations focused on gossip or complaint might leave you feeling drained rather than entertained. Activities that previously seemed exciting might now feel empty or meaningless. This isn't about becoming judgmental or superior. It's simply that as your inner life becomes richer and more peaceful, you naturally gravitate toward experiences that support and enhance this inner state rather than undermining it. You might find yourself prefer topics over small-ring deep conversations about meaningful talk. You might choose books, movies, and music that inspire growth and reflection rather than merely providing distraction. You might seek out activities that contribute to your well-being and development rather than just killing time. This natural evolution in your preferences further supports your continued growth and helps maintain the positive changes you're creating in your life. Here's another profound shift that occurs as you integrate these teachings. Your relationship with material possessions and external achievements changes dramatically. This doesn't mean you become indifferent to success or stop enjoying nice things. Rather, you hold these things more lightly. Your sense of identity and worth stops being tied to what you own, where you live, what you drive, or what titles you hold. You can enjoy these things when you have them without clinging to them desperately. You can lose them without losing yourself. This detachment from external markers of success actually makes you more attractive and respected, not less. People are drawn to individuals who don't need constant validation or status symbols to feel good about themselves. Your inner security becomes magnetic because it's so rare in our materialistic culture. You might find that as you need less external validation, you actually receive more recognition and opportunities. This paradox reflects a fundamental truth. When you're not desperately seeking something, you often become more likely to attract it naturally. Let's explore how these principles transform your approach to handling criticism and praise. Most people are either devastated by criticism or inflated by praise. Both reactions show that your emotional state is being controlled by others' opinions rather than your own inner compass. When someone criticizes you and you've developed these Buddhist qualities, you can listen openly to see if there's truth in their words without becoming defensive or crushed. If the criticism contains wisdom, you can learn from it gratefully. If it's unfair or motivated by their own issues, you can dismiss it without anger or resentment. Similarly, when someone praises you, you can appreciate their kind words without letting them inflate your ego or become attached to their approval. You understand that praise and criticism are both temporary and often say more about the speaker than about you. This balanced response to feedback makes you someone people feel safe being honest with. They know you won't attack them for constructive criticism or become arrogant from compliments. This creates deeper, more authentic relationships built on truth rather than flattery or avoidance. As we continue exploring these transformative principles, let's examine how they affect your physical health and energy levels. Stress, anxiety, anger, and resentment create chronic tension in the body that leads to fatigue, illness, and premature aging. When you embody these Buddhist principles, you're literally reducing the stress hormones in your system. Your improved emotional regulation leads to better sleep, stronger immune function, and higher energy levels. People often comment that those who practice these principles seem to age more slowly and maintain vitality longer than their peers. This isn't mystical or supernatural. It's simply the natural result of living with less internal conflict and stress. When you're not constantly fighting with reality, judging others, or criticizing yourself, your nervous system can relax into its natural state of ease and alertness. Your improved physical presence becomes another aspect of the respect you naturally command. People are drawn to those who embody vitality and peace rather than stress and conflict. Here's something else that happens as you develop these qualities. Your intuition becomes more reliable and accessible. When your mind is constantly agitated by reactive thoughts and emotions, it's difficult to access the subtle wisdom that emerges from stillness and clarity. As you practice these principles consistently, your mental chatter quiets down enough for deeper insights to emerge. You start trusting your gut feelings about people and situations because you've developed the wisdom to distinguish between fear-based reactions and genuine intuitive guidance. This enhanced intuition helps you make better decisions, avoid problematic people and situations, and recognize opportunities that align with your highest good. Others notice your seemingly uncanny ability to make good choices and navigate complex situations with wisdom. Let's address something important about maintaining these principles during particularly challenging periods of life. Everyone faces times of loss, disappointment, illness, or other major difficulties. These situations test your commitment to these teachings in ways that ordinary circumstances cannot. During these challenging times, you might find yourself tempted to abandon these principles and revert to old patterns of reactivity, blame, or despair. This is completely natural and doesn't mean you're failing in your practice. It means you're human. The key is to extend the same compassion to yourself during difficult times that you've learned to show others. You can acknowledge that you're struggling while still making efforts to embody these principles as best you can. Even if you only manage to practice them partially or intermittently during crisis periods, you're still maintaining your connection to this wisdom. Often it's during these challenging times that these principles prove their greatest value. Your ability to find some measure of peace, perspective, and compassion even in difficult circumstances becomes a source of strength not just for yourself, but for others who are watching how you handle adversity. People develop tremendous respect for those who can maintain dignity, kindness, and wisdom even when facing serious challenges. Your example during difficult times often inspires others more than anything you could say or do during easy periods. Now let's examine how these principles affect your relationship with time and productivity. Most people live in a constant state of urgency, always rushing to the next task, appointment, or goal. This creates a frantic energy that exhausts both themselves and those around them. When you embody these Buddhist teachings, you develop what might be called mindful productivity. You bring full presence to whatever task is before you, rather than constantly thinking about what's next. This focused attention actually makes you more efficient and effective, not less. You stop multitasking compulsively because you understand that divided attention leads to mediocre results and increased stress. Instead, you give your complete focus to one thing at a time, completing tasks more thoroughly and with greater satisfaction. This calm, focused approach to work and life becomes another aspect of your character that others respect and admire. In our distracted, hurried culture, someone who can remain present and focused stands out as possessing rare and valuable qualities. Your ability to remain unhurried even when dealing with deadlines or pressure shows others that you have inner resources and stability that most people lack. This makes you someone they want to work with and learn from. As you continue developing these qualities, you might notice that your standards for relationships begin to change. You become less willing to tolerate consistent disrespect, manipulation, or drama. This doesn't mean you become judgmental or intolerant, but rather that you value your peace and well-being enough to protect them appropriately. You might find yourself naturally spending less time with people who consistently drain your energy or create unnecessary conflict. Instead, you gravitate toward individuals who share your commitment to growth, respect, and authentic communication. This shift in your social circle supports your continued development and creates a positive feedback loop. As you surround yourself with people who embody these principles, you're reinforced in your own practice and inspired to continue growing. Your improved relationships become another source of respect from others who notice the quality of people you attract and maintain connections with. People often judge others by the company they keep, and your association with individuals of character reflects well on your own character. Let's explore how these principles transform your approach to conflict resolution, since this is where many people struggle most with maintaining respect and dignity. Traditional approaches to conflict often involve either aggressive confrontation or passive avoidance, neither of which leads to satisfactory resolution. When you apply Buddhist wisdom to conflicts, you approach them as opportunities for understanding and growth rather than battles to be won. You can engage with disagreements while maintaining respect for the other person's humanity and perspective. This doesn't mean you become passive or fail to advocate for your needs and values. Rather, you learn to be assertive without being aggressive, clear without being harsh, firm without being rigid. You can hold your ground on important principles while remaining open to new information and creative solutions. Your ability to navigate conflicts with wisdom and compassion often leads to outcomes that surprise everyone involved. When people feel heard and respected even during disagreements, they're much more likely to work toward mutually beneficial solutions. This skill in conflict resolution makes you valuable in all your relationships and roles. People seek you out when they need help resolving disputes because they trust your fairness and wisdom. Your reputation as someone who can handle difficult conversations with grace becomes another source of respect and influence. As we near the completion of this comprehensive exploration, let's discuss how these principles create a legacy that extends far beyond your immediate circle of influence. When you consistently embody wisdom, compassion, and authenticity, you're not just changing your own life, you're contributing to positive change in the world. Every interaction you have while embodying these principles plants seeds that may grow in ways you'll never know about. The person you treat with unexpected kindness might pass that kindness on to others. The colleague who observes your integrity during a difficult situation might be inspired to act with similar integrity in their own challenges. Your children, friends, and acquaintances are constantly learning from your example. Even when they don't consciously recognize it, they're absorbing lessons about how to treat others, how to handle stress, how to remain true to principles under pressure. This ripple effect of positive influence becomes perhaps the most meaningful aspect of developing these qualities. You're not just earning respect for yourself, you're contributing to a more respectful, compassionate world through every choice you make to embody these principles. The Buddha taught that we are all interconnected, and your commitment to developing wisdom and compassion contributes to the well-being of all beings. This understanding transforms even small daily choices into meaningful acts of service to the greater good. As you continue on this journey of integrating Buddhist wisdom into your daily life, remember that perfection is not the goal. Growth, consistency, and sincere effort are what matter. Every day you choose to respond with wisdom rather than reactivity. Every moment you extend compassion instead of judgment. Every time you act from integrity rather than convenience. You're strengthening these qualities and inspiring others to do the same. The respect you earn through this path is just the beginning. What you're really developing is the capacity to live with genuine dignity, peace, and purpose regardless of external circumstances. This inner transformation is the greatest gift you can give yourself and the most valuable contribution you can make to the world around you. Your journey of embodying these 30 Buddhist principles is not just about commanding respect from others. It's about becoming someone truly worthy of respect, starting with the respect you give yourself through your commitment to living according to your highest values and deepest wisdom. These transformations don't happen overnight, and that's actually part of their power. The gradual nature of this development means the changes become deeply integrated into who you are. Rather than surface-level behaviors you have to remember to perform. Think about how a river slowly carves through solid rock, creating magnificent canyons over thousands of years. Your consistent practice of these principles works in a similar way, gradually reshaping the landscape of your character until you become someone fundamentally different from who you were when you started this journey. But here's where many people stumble in their development of these qualities. They expect linear progress, like climbing a ladder where each step takes you definitively higher than the last. The reality is more like learning to surf, where you'll catch some waves beautifully and wipe out spectacularly on others. There will be days when you respond to challenges with perfect equanimity and others when you find yourself reacting with old patterns of defensiveness or impatience. This isn't failure, it's part of the natural learning process. What matters is your commitment to getting back on the board and continuing to practice. The people around you will notice these fluctuations too. Some might even point out your inconsistencies, perhaps saying something like, "I thought you were supposed to be all Zen now." but you seemed pretty frustrated yesterday. This kind of comment can trigger shame or self-doubt if you're not prepared for it. Remember that these observations often come from people who are uncomfortable with your growth because it highlights their own resistance to change. Your response to such comments becomes another opportunity to practice these principles. You can acknowledge the truth in their observation without abandoning your commitment to continued development. You might say something like, "You're absolutely right, I did get frustrated yesterday. I'm still learning how to apply these principles consistently, especially under stress. Thanks for the reminder to stay aware of my reactions." This response demonstrates humility, self-awareness, and commitment to growth while maintaining your dignity. Let's explore something that might seem contradictory at first. As you develop these Buddhist qualities, you'll likely find yourself becoming more discerning about people and situations, not less. This isn't about becoming judgmental or closed-minded. It's about developing the wisdom to recognize what serves your highest good and what doesn't. Your enhanced sensitivity to energy and intention means you'll quickly identify people who operate from manipulation, dishonesty, or consistently negative mindsets. You'll also recognize situations that drain your energy or compromise your values. This discernment is a gift that protects your peace and allows you to invest your time and energy more wisely. But here's the crucial balance. You can be discerning without being condemning. You can choose to limit your exposure to certain people or situations while maintaining compassion and respect for everyone involved. You understand that people are at different stages of their own development, and your role isn't to judge them but to make wise choices for yourself. This discernment actually increases the respect others have for you because they can sense that you have standards. You're not desperate for approval or willing to accept poor treatment. You value yourself and your peace enough to make conscious choices about where you invest your precious life energy. Now let's discuss something that happens as these principles become more natural to you. You'll start noticing the subtle ways that respect manifests in daily interactions. It's not always obvious or dramatic. Sometimes it's as simple as people asking for your opinion more frequently, or listening more carefully when you speak. You might notice that servers in restaurants become more attentive, that clerks in stores are more helpful, or that strangers are more likely to strike up friendly conversations with you. These small shifts reflect the energy you're projecting into the world. When you consistently embody respect, dignity, and kindness, people naturally respond in kind. This creates what psychologists call a positive feedback loop. The more respect you receive, the more confident and centered you become. The more confident and centered you become, the more naturally you embody these principles. The more you embody these principles, the more respect you naturally attract. But remember, this respect isn't the ultimate goal. It's a byproduct. If you practice these principles primarily to get respect from others, you'll create a subtle neediness that actually undermines your efforts. The respect must come as a natural consequence of your authentic embodiment of wisdom and compassion, not as a calculated result you're trying to achieve. Let's examine how these principles transform your relationship with money and material success. Many people believe they need to choose between spiritual development and material achievement, as if wisdom and prosperity are somehow incompatible. This belief creates unnecessary internal conflict and limits both spiritual and material growth. When you approach work and money from these Buddhist principles, something remarkable happens. Your reduced attachment to outcomes actually makes you more effective, not less. You can work with passion and dedication while remaining peaceful about results. This combination of engagement without desperation is incredibly powerful in any field. Your integrity in business dealings, your patience with difficult clients or colleagues, your ability to remain calm under pressure, your skill at resolving conflicts constructively. All these qualities make you more valuable professionally, not less. People want to work with individuals they can trust and rely on. Furthermore, when you're not driven by desperate need for money or status, you make better decisions. You don't compromise your values for short-term gains. You don't burn bridges through aggressive or unethical behavior. You build relationships based on mutual respect and benefit rather than exploitation. This approach often leads to greater long-term success than the aggressive, ego-driven strategies that many people employ. Your reputation for integrity and wisdom becomes a valuable asset that opens doors and creates opportunities throughout your career. Here's something else that happens as you integrate these teachings more deeply. Your relationship with aging and mortality transforms in profound ways. Most people either ignore the reality of aging and death, or they become anxious and depressed thinking about it. Neither approach leads to peace or wisdom. Buddhist principles teach you to accept the impermanence of your physical form, while recognizing the timeless qualities you're developing. Wisdom, compassion, love, and peace don't age or die. They can continue growing stronger throughout your entire life, regardless of what happens to your body. This acceptance of mortality actually enhances your appreciation for life. When you truly understand that your time is limited, you become more intentional about how you spend it. You waste less energy on petty concerns and invest more in what truly matters. People are drawn to individuals who have made peace with their mortality because they embody a kind of fearless wisdom. They're not desperately clinging to youth or frantically trying to achieve immortality through fame or wealth. They're focused on living fully and meaningfully right now. This acceptance of life's temporary nature paradoxically makes you more attractive to others. Your lack of desperate clinging to youth, status, or permanence creates a centered presence that people find magnetic and inspiring. As you continue developing these qualities, you'll discover something beautiful about the nature of influence and leadership. The most powerful leaders throughout history weren't those who demanded obedience through fear or manipulation. They were individuals who embodied principles so compelling that others naturally wanted to follow their example. This is the kind of influence you're developing through these Buddhist principles. You're not trying to control or manipulate others. You're becoming someone so grounded in wisdom and compassion that people naturally seek your guidance and respect your perspective. This influence extends far beyond formal leadership roles. Whether you're a parent, friend, colleague, or community member, your embodiment of these principles creates ripple effects that inspire others to examine their own behavior and consider adopting similar approaches to life. Your children observe how you handle stress and learn that it's possible to remain calm during difficulties. Your friends notice how you navigate conflicts and realize there are alternatives to drama and aggression. Your colleagues see how you maintain integrity under pressure and understand that ethical behavior can coexist with professional success. This kind of influence through example is far more powerful than any lecture or advice you could give. People are much more likely to adopt behaviors they see working effectively in someone they respect than behaviors they're told they should adopt. Let's address something that might concern some people as they develop these qualities. You might worry that becoming more peaceful and compassionate will make you less competitive or ambitious. This concern reflects a common misunderstanding about what these principles actually involve. True peace isn't passivity, it's the ability to act from clarity rather than reactive emotion. Genuine compassion isn't weakness, it's the strength to respond wisely even in difficult situations. Authentic humility isn't self-diminishment, it's confident enough to acknowledge both strengths and limitations honestly. When you embody these principles correctly, you become more effective in pursuing your goals, not less. You make better strategic decisions because your judgment isn't clouded by ego or fear. You build stronger alliances because people trust your integrity. You persevere through challenges because your motivation comes from principle rather than desperation. Many of the most successful people in various fields embody these qualities, even if they don't describe them in Buddhist terms. They understand that sustainable success requires wisdom, emotional intelligence, and the ability to work effectively with others. Your commitment to these principles doesn't limit your ambitions, it elevates them. Instead of pursuing success for ego gratification or external validation, you can work toward goals that align with your deepest values and contribute to the greater good. Now let's explore how these principles affect your relationship with technology and social media, since these are such significant parts of modern life. The constant connectivity and information overload of our digital age can either support or undermine your development of these qualities depending on how consciously you approach it. When you practice mindful consumption of media and technology, you become much more selective about what you allow into your mental space. You might find yourself unfollowing accounts that consistently promote negativity, comparison, or superficial values. Instead, you seek out content that inspires growth, wisdom, or genuine connection. Your social media presence, if you choose to maintain one, becomes an extension of these principles. You share content that adds value rather than just seeking attention. You engage in discussions with respect and thoughtfulness rather than reactive arguing. You use these platforms to connect authentically rather than to project a false image. This conscious approach to technology demonstrates the same discernment and intentionality that characterizes all aspects of your life when you embody these Buddhist principles. People notice the quality of your online presence and interactions, and it becomes another way they form positive impressions of your character. You might also find that you naturally spend less time on devices and more time in face-to-face interactions or solitary reflection. This isn't about becoming anti-technology, but about using technology as a tool rather than being used by it. Here's something profound that happens as you integrate these teachings more fully into your life. You begin to understand that respect isn't really something that comes from others at all. True respect is an internal state of honoring the dignity and worth of every being, including yourself. When you consistently treat others with genuine respect regardless of how they treat you, you develop an unshakable sense of your own dignity. This inner respect becomes independent of external validation or recognition. You know who you are and what you stand for, regardless of whether others acknowledge it. This shift from seeking respect to embodying respect transforms everything. You stop needing others to validate your worth because you're consistently validating it through your actions and choices. You stop being hurt by disrespectful behavior because you understand it reflects the other person's inner state, not your value as a human being. Paradoxically, this independence from needing respect often results in receiving more respect than ever before. People can sense when someone has genuine self-respect and inner security. They're naturally drawn to these qualities because they're so rare in our insecure, validation-seeking culture. As we approach the end of this comprehensive exploration of Buddhist wisdom for commanding respect, let's examine the ultimate transformation that occurs when you fully integrate these principles. You develop what might be called sacred presence, a way of being that honors the divine nature in yourself and everyone you encounter. This sacred presence isn't religious in a conventional sense. It's a recognition that life itself is precious and meaningful, that every interaction is an opportunity to express love and wisdom, and that your time on earth is a gift to be used consciously and purposefully. When you embody this sacred presence, people feel it immediately. They might not be able to articulate what's different about you, but they sense that being around you somehow makes them feel more valuable, more hopeful, more connected to their own better nature. This is the ultimate form of respect, not the kind based on fear, achievement, or social status, but the profound recognition that emerges when someone consistently honors the inherent dignity of life itself. This kind of respect transforms not just how others see you, but how you see yourself and the world around you. Your journey of embodying these 30 Buddhist lessons is ultimately a journey home to your own true nature. Beneath all the conditioning, fears, and reactive patterns lies a being of infinite wisdom and compassion. These practices don't create these qualities, they simply remove the obstacles that prevent them from shining through naturally. Every moment you choose wisdom over reactivity, every time you respond with compassion instead of judgment, every instance where you act from integrity rather than convenience, you're uncovering more of who you really are. You're becoming not someone different, but more authentically yourself. The respect you earn through this process is simply the natural recognition that flows between beings who honor the sacred in each other. It's the acknowledgement of the courage it takes to live consciously in an unconscious world, the appreciation for the strength required to choose love over fear in each moment. This transformation doesn't end with these 30 lessons. They're the foundation for a lifetime of continued growth, deepening wisdom, and expanding compassion. Each day offers new opportunities to practice these principles more fully, to embody them more naturally, and to share their benefits with everyone whose life you touch. The Buddha taught that the path to awakening is walked one step at a time, one breath at a time, one choice at a time. Your commitment to these principles is not just changing how others see and treat you. It's contributing to the awakening of human consciousness itself, one relationship at a time, one interaction at a time, one moment of choosing love over fear at a time. As you continue walking this path, remember that you're not alone. Throughout history, countless beings have discovered these same truths and embodied these same principles. You're part of an ancient lineage of wisdom that stretches back thousands of years and forward into a future where more and more people choose to live from their highest nature. Your dedication to developing these qualities ripples outward in ways you may never fully know, inspiring others to examine their own lives, make different choices, and discover their own capacity for wisdom and compassion. This is perhaps the greatest respect of all, the recognition that your life, lived consciously and purposefully, has the power to transform the world one heart at a time. The journey continues, and with each step you become more fully yourself while contributing to the elevation of all life. This is the path of true respect, the way of authentic power, and the foundation for a life of profound meaning and lasting positive impact. As you walk this path of transformation, you'll encounter something that might surprise you. The deeper you go into these Buddhist teachings, the more you'll realize that commanding respect was never really about getting others to see you differently. It was about seeing yourself clearly for the first time. There's a moment that comes to everyone who seriously practices these principles. You're in the middle of some ordinary situation, maybe stuck in traffic or dealing with a difficult person at work, and suddenly you notice something remarkable. You're not reacting the way you used to. Where there once would have been frustration or anger, there's simply presence. Where there once would have been the need to prove yourself or defend your position, there's just quiet confidence. This shift happens so gradually that you might not notice it until someone points it out. A friend mentions that you seem different lately, more centered. A colleague comments that nothing seems to ruffle your feathers anymore. Your children start coming to you with their problems because they know you won't react with judgment or panic. These observations from others become mirrors, reflecting back the transformation that's been occurring within you. But here's what's truly profound about this process. The respect you now command isn't something you had to earn through achievement or demand through force. It emerged naturally as a byproduct of becoming someone genuinely worth respecting. Think about the people in your life who command the deepest respect. I'm not talking about those who demand it through position or power, but those who naturally inspire it through their presence and character. What qualities do they embody? Chances are they demonstrate many of the principles we've explored together. They listen more than they speak, yet their words carry weight when they do choose to share them. They remain calm in situations that send others into chaos. They treat everyone with basic human dignity regardless of status or circumstances. They admit their mistakes without losing their composure, and they celebrate others' successes without feeling diminished. These aren't superhuman beings with special gifts. They're ordinary people who've made extraordinary commitments to developing their character according to timeless principles. They've discovered what the Buddha knew 25 centuries ago: that true power comes not from controlling others, but from mastering yourself. Now, as you begin implementing these teachings in your daily life, you might wonder which principle to focus on first. This is where many people get overwhelmed and end up implementing nothing at all. They try to become perfectly mindful, completely compassionate, and totally non-attached all at once. This approach almost always leads to frustration and abandonment of the entire endeavor. Instead, choose just one principle that resonated most strongly with you as we've explored these teachings together. Maybe it was the practice of deep listening, or perhaps the development of emotional equanimity. Whatever called to you most powerfully, make that your focus for the next 30 days. Here's why this singular focus is so important. When you try to change everything at once, you change nothing permanently. But when you focus intensely on developing one quality until it becomes natural, that single transformation begins affecting every other aspect of your character and relationships. Let's say you choose to focus on mindful speech for the next month. As you become more intentional about your words, you'll naturally become a better listener. As you become a better listener, you'll develop greater compassion for others. As your compassion deepens, you'll find it easier to remain patient during difficult conversations. Each quality supports and strengthens the others. But here's something crucial to understand about this process. Change happens in layers, like peeling an onion. Just when you think you've mastered patience, for example, life will present you with a situation that tests your patience in a way you've never experienced before. This isn't a sign that you're failing or that the principles don't work. It's simply the next layer of your development being revealed. The person who develops true mastery of these principles isn't someone who never faces challenges or never has difficult emotions. They're someone who faces the same challenges as everyone else, but responds to them from a different place within themselves. They've learned to access a source of strength and wisdom that doesn't depend on external circumstances. This inner strength becomes evident to others in subtle but powerful ways. They notice that you don't get defensive when criticized. They see that you can disagree with someone while maintaining respect for their perspective. They observe that you can face disappointment without becoming bitter or cynical. These observations accumulate over time to create what we might call your reputation for wisdom. People begin seeking your perspective on their challenges because they've noticed the quality of your responses to your own. They start asking for your advice because they've seen evidence of your good judgment in action. But here's where many people make a crucial error. They become attached to this growing reputation and start performing wisdom rather than embodying it. They begin carefully crafting their responses to maintain their image as a wise person rather than simply responding authentically from their developing wisdom. This shift from authentic practice to performance undermines everything you've built. People can sense the difference between genuine wisdom and performed wisdom. The former attracts respect naturally, while the latter creates a subtle feeling of manipulation that pushes people away. The key to avoiding this trap is remembering that these principles are practices, not achievements. You never graduate from the need to cultivate mindfulness, compassion, or patience. You simply become more skilled at accessing these qualities when you need them. This understanding keeps you humble and authentic. You're not pretending to be enlightened or claiming to have figured everything out. You're simply someone who's committed to approaching life's challenges with as much wisdom and compassion as you can muster in each moment. This authenticity is perhaps the most attractive quality of all. In a world full of people trying to project images of perfection or success, someone who's genuinely working on becoming a better person stands out like a beacon of hope. Your willingness to admit mistakes, to keep learning, to remain open to feedback and growth demonstrates a kind of strength that most people never develop. It shows that you're secure enough in yourself to acknowledge imperfection while committed enough to your development to keep working toward your highest potential. As you continue practicing these principles, you'll discover something beautiful about the nature of influence. The most powerful way to inspire others isn't through preaching or teaching, but through example. When people see these principles working in your life, when they witness the peace and dignity you've developed, they naturally become curious about how they might develop similar qualities. This influence happens without effort or intention on your part. You're not trying to convert anyone or prove anything. You're simply living according to your deepest values and allowing others to draw their own conclusions about what they observe. Sometimes this influence manifests in direct conversations where people ask about your approach to handling stress or conflict. Other times it's much more subtle. Someone might notice how you handle a difficult situation and remember your example when they face something similar in their own life. Your children, if you have them, are constantly absorbing lessons from your behavior. They're learning what it looks like to treat others with respect, how to handle disappointment with grace, and what it means to live according to principles even when it's difficult. Your colleagues observe how you navigate workplace politics and professional challenges. They see whether you maintain your integrity under pressure, how you treat people at different levels of the organizational hierarchy, and whether your actions align with your stated values. Even strangers you encounter briefly are affected by your embodiment of these principles. The way you treat service workers, how you behave in traffic, your response to everyday frustrations, all of these interactions plant seeds that may grow in ways you'll never know about. This ripple effect of positive influence is one of the most meaningful aspects of this journey. You're not just changing your own life, You're contributing to positive change in countless other lives through every interaction informed by these Buddhist principles. But let's talk about something that happens as you go deeper into this practice. You'll begin to see through the illusions that keep most people trapped in cycles of suffering and conflict. You'll recognize how much of human drama comes from people defending images of themselves rather than simply being themselves. You'll notice how much energy people waste trying to prove they're right instead of trying to understand what's true. You'll see how attachment to outcomes creates anxiety and disappointment, while acceptance of uncertainty creates peace and flexibility. This clarity can be both liberating and isolating. It's liberating because you're no longer caught in these same patterns. You can observe the drama without being drawn into it, but it can be isolating because you might feel like you're living in a different reality from many of the people around you. The key to navigating this challenge is maintaining compassion for others who are still trapped in patterns you've learned to transcend. Remember that you once operated from these same patterns. Your freedom from them isn't a sign of superiority. It's simply evidence of your commitment to growth and the effectiveness of these ancient teachings. This compassion prevents you from becoming judgmental or condescending toward others who haven't yet discovered these principles. Instead, you can serve as a living example of different possibilities while respecting everyone's right to their own journey and timing. As you continue developing these qualities, you'll face tests that seem designed to challenge your commitment to these principles. Someone might take advantage of your kindness, mistake your patience for weakness, or respond to your compassion with hostility. These situations are not signs that these principles don't work or that you should abandon them. They're opportunities to deepen your practice and discover reservoirs of strength you didn't know you possessed. They're chances to prove to yourself that your commitment to wisdom and compassion isn't dependent on others' behavior. Each time you maintain your principles in the face of difficulty, you strengthen your character and increase your confidence in this approach to life. You prove to yourself that it's possible to remain centered regardless of external circumstances. This inner proof is far more valuable than any external validation. When you know from direct experience that these principles work, that they create genuine peace and strength, no one can convince you otherwise. Your faith in this path becomes unshakable because it's based on lived experience rather than belief alone. The respect you command through this journey isn't the kind that comes and goes based on circumstances. It's not dependent on your achievements, your status, or your ability to impress others. It's the respect that flows naturally to someone who has developed genuine character and authentic presence. This kind of respect sustains you through all of life's changes and challenges. It doesn't diminish with age or disappear when external circumstances shift. If to grow stronger over anything, it tends the consistency time as people witness of your character across various situations and seasons of life. But perhaps most importantly, this journey gives you something that no external respect could ever provide: genuine self-respect. When you consistently live according to your highest values, when you respond to life's challenges with wisdom and compassion, when you treat others with dignity regardless of how they treat you, you develop an unshakable appreciation for who you are and who you're becoming. This self-respect isn't based on comparison with others or achievement of external goals. It comes from knowing that you're living with integrity, that you're contributing positively to the world around you, and that you're becoming the kind of person you would admire if you met them. As we draw near the end of this exploration, remember that these 30 Buddhist lessons aren't just concepts to understand intellectually. They're practices to embody, principles to live by, and pathways to transformation that can reshape every aspect of your existence. The journey of implementing these teachings will be unique for each person, but the destination is the same: becoming someone who naturally commands respect because they've learned to respect themselves and others at the deepest level. Your commitment to this path is already setting you apart from the majority of people who never seriously examine their patterns or work to develop their character. Every day you practice these principles, you're joining an ancient lineage of individuals who have chosen wisdom over reactivity, compassion over judgment, and authentic presence over performed personality. The world needs people who embody these qualities. In our divided, reactive, and often superficial culture, individuals who consistently demonstrate depth, wisdom, and genuine care for others serve as reminders of our highest human potential. Your journey isn't just about earning respect from others, though that will naturally occur. It's about becoming someone worthy of the deepest respect, your own. It's about living in a way that honors the precious opportunity of human existence and contributes to the elevation of consciousness on our planet. The Buddha taught that we become what we repeatedly do. As you make these principles your daily practice, you're not just changing your behavior, you're reshaping your very identity. You're becoming someone who naturally embodies wisdom, compassion, and authentic strength. This transformation ripples outward in ways that extend far beyond your immediate circle. Every person who experiences your embodiment of these principles receives a living demonstration that different ways of being are possible. They see that it's not necessary to react defensively to criticism, to treat others poorly when feeling stressed, or to compromise integrity for convenience. Your example plants seeds that may not sprout immediately, but could grow into significant changes in the lives of people you may never know were affected by your presence. This is the ultimate form of respect, not the kind that comes from position or achievement, but the recognition that your very existence makes the world a little better, one interaction at a time. The path continues beyond these teachings, into a lifetime of deepening practice and growing wisdom. Each day offers new opportunities to embody these principles more fully, to respond to challenges with greater skill, and to contribute more meaningfully to the lives of those around you. Your journey has already begun simply by engaging with these ideas. Now the real adventure starts as you take these ancient teachings and make them living realities in your modern life. The respect you seek is waiting for you, not somewhere outside yourself, but within the person you're becoming through your commitment to wisdom, compassion, and authentic presence. The Buddha's teachings have guided countless individuals toward lives of dignity, peace, and natural authority for over 2 millennia. Now it's your turn to walk this path and discover for yourself the transformation that awaits those who choose to live according to these timeless principles of human flourishing. Remember that moment when you first learned to ride a bicycle? You probably fell dozens of times, scraped your knees, felt embarrassed when other kids zoomed past you effortlessly. But then something clicked. Suddenly you weren't thinking about balance or pedaling or steering, you were just riding naturally and confidently. Developing these Buddhist principles works exactly the same way. At first you'll consciously remind yourself to listen deeply, to speak mindfully, to respond rather than react. You'll catch yourself falling back into old patterns and feel frustrated with your progress. This is completely normal and actually a sign that you're becoming more aware. But then comes that magical moment when you realize you're naturally embodying these qualities without effort. Someone says something that would have triggered defensiveness in the past, and you simply remain calm and curious about their perspective. A stressful situation arises, and instead of panic, You feel centered and capable of responding wisely. This transition from conscious practice to natural embodiment is what transforms respect from something you have to work for into something that flows to you effortlessly. People begin to sense that your peaceful presence isn't a performance or technique. It's simply who you are. Here's something profound that happens during this transformation. Your relationship with failure completely changes. Most people are devastated by mistakes because they tie their self-worth to being right or successful. But when you embody these Buddhist principles, failure becomes just another teacher. You make a poor decision, and instead of beating yourself up, you examine what led to that choice. You handle a conflict badly, and rather than drowning in shame, you reflect on how you might respond more skillfully next time. You lose your temper, and instead of pretending it didn't happen, you acknowledge it honestly and recommit to your practice. This mature relationship with imperfection is incredibly attractive to others. They see someone who doesn't need to be perfect to maintain their dignity and self-respect. They witness someone who can learn from mistakes without being crushed by them. This authenticity and resilience commands deep respect because it's so rare. But let's address something that might worry you as you begin this journey. You might fear that developing these qualities will somehow make you boring or less dynamic. Perhaps you worry that patience and equanimity will drain the passion and excitement from your life. The opposite is actually true. When you're not constantly reacting to every stimulus, when you're not exhausting yourself with defensive behaviors and emotional drama, you have tremendous energy available for what truly matters to you. Your passions become more focused and purposeful rather than scattered and reactive. You might discover interests, talents, and you never had time to explore when you were consumed with protecting your ego or managing constant stress. You might find yourself drawn to creative pursuits, deeper learning, or meaningful service that feeds your soul in ways that superficial pleasures never could. This shift toward more meaningful engagement with life makes you far more interesting, not less. People are drawn to individuals who have depth, who pursue their interests with genuine passion rather than desperate need for validation. Here's another remarkable transformation that occurs as these principles take root in your character. Your intuition becomes incredibly sharp and reliable. When your mind isn't cluttered with reactive thoughts and defensive strategies, you can access the subtle wisdom that emerges from stillness and clarity. You'll start knowing things about people and situations that you couldn't explain rationally. You'll sense when someone is struggling, even if they haven't said anything directly. You'll feel when a situation isn't quite right, even if everything looks fine on the surface. You'll recognize opportunities that others miss because their minds are too noisy to perceive subtle signals. This enhanced intuition becomes another source of respect from others. They notice your seemingly uncanny ability to read situations accurately and make wise decisions with limited information. They seek your guidance because you consistently offer insights that prove helpful and true. But here's where this gets really interesting. As your intuition sharpens, you'll begin to understand something profound about the nature of respect itself. You'll realize that true respect isn't about getting others to acknowledge your worth. It's about recognizing the inherent dignity and value in every being you encounter, including yourself. This shift in understanding changes everything. Instead of seeking respect, you become someone who naturally gives respect. Instead of demanding acknowledgement, you become someone who genuinely acknowledges others. This reversal is what creates the magnetic presence that draws respect effortlessly. People can feel the difference between someone who needs their validation and someone who already sees their worth clearly. The person who needs validation feels needy and draining. The person who already recognizes worth feels generous and uplifting. Which energy do you think people naturally want to be around? Now let's explore how these principles transform your approach to leadership, whether you're leading a family, a team at work, or simply influencing others through your example. Traditional leadership often relies on authority, control, or charisma to get people to follow. This approach creates compliance but rarely inspires genuine enthusiasm or loyalty. Buddhist-inspired leadership operates from an entirely different foundation. You lead through the power of your example, the wisdom of your decisions, and the authenticity of your care for others' well-being. People follow you not because they have to, but because they want to learn from you and be part of what you're creating. This kind of leadership doesn't require you to have all the answers or never make mistakes. In fact, your willingness to admit uncertainty and learn from errors actually strengthens people's trust in you. They see someone who's secure enough to be vulnerable and wise enough to keep growing. Consider how this applies to parenting. Children raised by adults who embody these Buddhist principles learn respect through example rather than fear. They see how to handle disappointment gracefully, how to treat difficult people with dignity, how to pursue goals without becoming attached to specific outcomes. These lessons shape their character far more powerfully than any lecture or punishment could. They internalize these ways of being because they've witnessed their effectiveness in someone they love and respect. The same dynamic applies in professional settings. Colleagues observe how you handle pressure, how you treat people at different levels of the hierarchy, how you respond to both success and failure. Your consistent embodiment of these principles teaches them more about true leadership than any management training program. Here's something that might surprise you about this journey. As you develop these qualities, you'll likely find yourself naturally attracting mentors and teachers you never expected. People with wisdom and experience are drawn to those who demonstrate genuine humility and commitment to growth. You might find that respected individuals in your field begin offering guidance and opportunities. Wise elders might share insights they rarely discuss with others. Even strangers might offer helpful perspectives when they sense your authentic openness to learning. This happens because people who have developed wisdom themselves can recognize the same commitment in others. They remember their own journey and want to support others walking a similar path. Your dedication to these principles marks you as someone worth investing in. But let's talk about something else that happens as you embody these teachings more fully. Your relationship with time transforms completely. Most people live in constant urgency, always feeling behind, always rushing toward the next task or goal. This creates a frantic energy that exhausts both themselves and those around them. When you practice these Buddhist principles, you develop what might be called sacred time consciousness. You understand that the present moment is the only time that truly exists, so you give your full attention to whatever is before you right now. This doesn't mean you become passive or stop planning for the future. It means you approach each task, each conversation, each responsibility with complete presence, rather than partial attention. This focused engagement actually makes you more efficient and effective, not less. People notice this quality of presence and are naturally drawn to it. In our distracted, hurried culture, someone who can remain centered and focused stands out as possessing rare and valuable abilities. Your calm competence in a chaotic world becomes another source of respect and admiration. You become the person others turn to during crises because they know you won't panic or make hasty decisions. You become the colleague people want on their team because they trust your ability to stay focused under pressure. You become the friend people confide in because they know you'll give them your complete attention. Now let's explore something that happens as these principles become deeply integrated into your character. You develop what we might call spiritual confidence, a quiet certainty about your place in the world and your ability to handle whatever arises. This isn't arrogance or ego inflation. It's the natural result of consistently proving to yourself that you can respond to challenges with wisdom and grace. Every time you choose patience over reactivity, every time you respond with compassion instead of defensiveness, every time you act from integrity rather than convenience, you build evidence of your own character and capability. This confidence is incredibly attractive because it's not dependent on external validation or circumstances. People can sense that you have access to resources within yourself that don't depend on others' approval or favorable conditions. This self-contained strength is magnetic in ways that desperate confidence-seeking never could be. Here's where this gets particularly powerful. As you develop this spiritual confidence, you stop being threatened by others' success or triggered by their criticism. Someone else's achievements don't diminish you because your worth isn't dependent on comparison. Someone's harsh words don't destroy you because your self-respect comes from within rather than from others' opinions. This emotional freedom allows you to celebrate others genuinely, to learn from criticism gracefully, and to remain centered regardless of external circumstances. These qualities are so rare that they immediately set you apart as someone of unusual strength and wisdom. But let's address something that concerns many people as they begin this transformation. You might worry about how others will react to your changes, especially family members and old friends who are used to the previous version of you. Sometimes people resist others' positive changes because it highlights their own resistance to growth. They might make comments like, "You're getting too serious," or "You think you're better than everyone now," or "Remember when you used to be fun." These reactions often come from discomfort rather than genuine concern. Your growth challenges their assumptions about what's possible or necessary. Your peace highlights their anxiety. Your authentic confidence exposes their insecurities. The key is responding to this resistance with compassion rather than defensiveness. You can acknowledge their concerns while maintaining your commitment to continued development. You might say something like, "I understand this seems different and I value our relationship. I'm just working on becoming the person I want to be, and I hope you can support me in that." Some people will adjust to your changes and even be inspired by them. Others might drift away, and that's okay too. As you embody these principles more fully, you'll naturally attract people who share your values and appreciate your growth. The quality of your relationships will improve even if the quantity changes. Remember, you're not trying to prove anything to anyone or convert them to your way of thinking. You're simply living according to your deepest values and allowing others to draw their own conclusions about what they observe. This authentic approach to change creates the most sustainable transformation. You're not performing these qualities for others' approval. You're embodying them because they align with who you want to be. This inner motivation makes the changes genuine and lasting rather than superficial and temporary. As you continue this journey, you'll discover that these 30 Buddhist lessons aren't separate techniques to master individually. They're interconnected aspects of a complete approach to living that supports and reinforces itself. Your mindfulness enhances your compassion. Your patience deepens your wisdom. Your authenticity makes your kindness more powerful. This integration means you're not juggling different behaviors or trying to remember specific responses. You're becoming the kind of person who naturally embodies these qualities because they've become part of your essential character. The respect you command through this transformation isn't something you have to maintain or defend. It flows naturally from who you are rather than what you do. This makes it sustainable and genuine rather than fragile and performed. Your journey with these Buddhist principles is ultimately a journey home to your authentic self. Beneath all the conditioning, fears, and reactive patterns lies a being of natural wisdom and compassion. These practices don't create these qualities, they simply remove the obstacles that prevent them from expressing themselves freely. Every choice to embody these principles is a choice to become more fully yourself. Every moment you respond with wisdom rather than reactivity, every time you choose compassion over judgment, every instance where you act from integrity rather than convenience, you're uncovering more of who you really are. The respect you earn through this process is simply the natural recognition that flows between beings who honor the sacred in themselves and each other. It's the acknowledgement of the courage required to live consciously in an often unconscious world. The appreciation for the strength needed to choose love over fear in each moment. This transformation extends far beyond your personal benefit. Every person who experiences your embodiment of these principles receives a living demonstration that different ways of being are possible.